Hello boys. So today I will give you an explanation on Act 2 Scene 4 of Merchant of Venice, and this lesson is especially for class 9 boys of St. Augustine School. So here in this scene what happens is that Lorenzo, he actually suggests to others, he has his friends around him and he is actually telling his friends his plan of how they are going to leave quietly, that they, meaning to say Jessica and Lorenzo, how are they going to elope quietly from Jessica's father's house, that is Shylock's house, and out, like very quietly, while the others are having supper at Bassanio's house. So that is a plan. They plan to have a masquerade, okay, a mask, a ceremony where people, they wear masks on their faces, and each gentleman is accompanied, has a company beside him, that is, he has a person carrying a torch. So that is the custom, and so they go around in the street with music, and it's a kind of a procession. So in this time, that is what Lorenzo plans to do. He plans to elope with Jessica when everybody is busy with dinner time and with all this celebration. So, and he tells his friends to go to his room and there put on their masks and costumes and be back again in an hour. So that's the plan. So when we come to the question, what is a mask? So a mask is, okay, as I have already explained to you, a mask in the Elizabethan times, during the times when Shakespeare wrote this plays during the 16th centuries, all right, it wasn't a mature dramatic performance. It was not a professional performance, but it was an amateur performance, usually presented in a private house. So the players who wore masks and costumes and took part in a torchlight procession playing instruments. Like I already told you, like each gentleman used to wear a mask, okay, and used to be accompanied by somebody known as a torchbearer. So that is, with all this confusion, this is how Lorenzo decides to run away with Jessica. So let's come to the explanation. Act 2, Scene 4. Enter Graciano, Lorenzo, Salerno and Selenio in a lively conversation. And where does the scene take place? It takes place at a street in Venice. Lorenzo: nay, we will slink away in supper time, disguise us at my lodging and return all in an hour. Which means to say that, like we've already discussed, he is telling his friends, his Christian friends, to meet after an hour. Where? In his room, okay, in his room with all the costumes, so that they can change into the costume. Disguise us at our lodging means let's change into our costumes at his lodging. Lodging means the place that he lives, a private house. So Graciano says, we must not made good preparation. That means we have not made good preparation. So Graciano and other friends of Lorenzo are quite apprehensive because they do not want to have the celebration, because they think that the preparation is not good. So Salerno also says, we have not spoke to us yet of torchbearers. That means, as I told you, each gentleman used to have a torchbearer in the procession, isn't it? So in that case, Salerno also says, like, let's not have this celebration because we still haven't talked about who our torchbearers are going to be. But Lorenzo, he is quite fine with it because he already has someone in his mind. He already has a person in his mind who he thinks is going to be his torchbearer. And that, without any question, we know that it is going to be Jessica, who is going to be disguised as a boy. So Selenio also says, the while, unless it may be quaintly ordered, the better in my mind not undertook. Okay, so here Selenio also says it is a vile thing unless it can be done. So he says, like, it is quaintly done. That means he says, like, it can be done prettily, so and better in my mind not undertook. So this only shows the doubt that his friends are having towards the celebration. So Lorenzo says, "'Tis not but 4 o'clock, we have 2 hours to furnish us." That means Lorenzo says, no, we have 2 hours. We already have 2 hours in our hand, which is quite a lot. So that means they plan to have the masquerade, that is the mass, the celebration around 6 o'clock. Alright. Enter Lancelot with a letter. So now Lancelot is coming with a letter. And if you understand what who this letter is coming from, in the previous scene, you've already seen that someone has already given Lancelot the charge of delivering this letter to Lorenzo. And we all know that the letter is coming from Jessica, correct? So, "Friend Lancelot, what's the news?" Lancelot says, "It shall please you to break up. This it shall seem to signify." Now there's a malapropism again. Okay, so here specify, signify. So here a malapropism, see, as we've already seen earlier, Lancelot, he's a fool, alright, but he's a wise fool. He knows, or he has a bigger sense of vocabulary, and he misuses the words of the English in a very grand manner, and that is known as malapropism, and that only leads to the humor, that he actually provides in the play. So there are 2 forms of humor that he provides. One is in the form of an action, a slapstick humor, and secondly in the form of his language, that is he misuses all the words of the English dictionary, and this is how he even misuses the word, like he says like signify in reality is something that tells you. So he says, "It shall please you to break up, this it shall seem to signify." Lorenzo, "I know the hand." So Lorenzo says, "I know the hand." That means he is talking about the handwriting in faith. "'Tis a fair hand, and whiter than the paper it writ on, is fair hand that writ on." So this is an exaggeration. Okay, it's a hyperbole. So a hyperbole is an exaggeration where where you tend to say something and exaggerate on it. So here he is exaggerating and saying that Jessica is fair and even fairer than that word. And he says, like, "I know the hand, it is even whiter than the paper," that the hand is whiter than the paper it writ on. Writ on means write, that it wrote on. Gratiano says, "Love news." So Gratiano is pulling his friend's leg and he's saying, he's teasing, he's teasing his friend and says, "Oh, it's a love letter in faith." Lancelot says, "By your leave." Then Lancelot leaves. Lorenzo, "Whither goest thou?" That means, "Where are you going?" Lancelot says, "Marry, sir, to bid my old master the Jew to sup tonight." Sup means supper. "Tonight with my new master the Christian." So now from here we understand that they are going to have the celebration at Bassanio's house. So Lorenzo, "Hold here, take this, tell gentle Jessica, I will not fail her, speak it privately." Then he says, "Come here, hold here, stop, wait. Okay, please tell Jessica that I will not fail her. Of course, I will come to get her. Go, gentlemen, will you prepare you for this mass tonight? I am provided of a torchbearer." So from here we understand that Lorenzo wants the masquerade to happen, because from here he says that I've already found my torchbearer, and that torchbearer in the form Jessica is going to be his torchbearer. Salerno says, "Hey Mary, I'll be gone about and straight." That means he says like, okay, I'm going straight away. "And so will I. Lorenzo, meet me and Gratiano at Gratiano's lodging some hour hence." That means after some time. Salerno says, "'Tis good we do so." So that from there they take leave and they go. Gratiano, "Was not that letter from Fair Jessica?" So the person that they are, Lorenzo is left with is only Gratiano. So now here Gratiano is asking Lorenzo, was not that letter? That means, was that letter that you got that time, wasn't it from Jessica? And Lorenzo says, "I must needs tell thee all. She had directed." That means she has already given me directions. "How I shall take her from a father's house what gold and jewels she is furnished with, what page's suit she hath in readiness, if ever the Jew her father come to heaven. Now see here, Lorenzo in the letter, Jessica in the letter to Lorenzo has already written her plans about how she is going to run away from her father's house. She's already written there that she is going to wear the page's suit. Page's suit means a servant's suit, okay? A uniform she had in readiness. That means it was already ready there. If ever the Jew, now he is appreciating, Lorenzo is appreciating Jessica and tells the audience that if ever the Jew, her father, come to heaven, because Shylock is a very vindictive and a very cruel man, so everyone knows that if he dies, he's going to go to hell. But here, Lorenzo says, now if he ever comes to heaven, you know how he's going to come to heaven? It is going to be because of his daughter. So that is how he appreciates, Jessica, and says, it will be for his gentle daughter's sake, and never dare misfortune cross her foot, unless she do it under this excuse, that she is issue means a child, to a faithless Jew. See how you know, they talk about Shylock, because Shylock had broken down every sense of dignity, and he went around lending money in such a high rate that made everyone hate him. So here, Lorenzo says that, you know, although she is a issue means a child to this faithless Jew, come. She is, you know, I just hope that nothing wrong happens to her, because it is not in her choice that she is the daughter to Shylock. So it is not her choice, it is not her fault. So in this case, Lorenzo just hopes that nothing wrong happens to Jessica. So it says, come go with me, peruse this as thou goest. I mean, you read it as you walk along. Fair Jessica shall be my torchbearer. So he's already made up in his mind that Jessica is going to be the torchbearer. Alright, so this is how the scene ends. And with although this is you know, some subplots which now we are anticipating towards Lorenzo and Jessica's elopement. So this particular scenes may be very short, but it adds to, you know, giving the story a dimension. Okay, so from here we understand that the story is now slowly taking its form, how Shylock is going to break down ultimately, because there were three things that he was very proud about, isn't it? He was proud about his you know, his religion. Okay. Secondly, he was proud about his business, and thirdly, he was proud about being wealthy. So all these things are going to be broken down, and so this is just preparing us how Shylock is going to end up being in a tragic state later. So thank you very much for listening. So in the next class, I will see you with Act 2, Scene 5. Thank you, boys.